Hello everybody, Michelle here with Michelle Beckner, Family Wellness. Today I want to talk about something that I get asked about a lot and I see quite a bit in the group, and that is optimizing your breast milk. So and I'm hanging out with baby Miriam, she's eating snack. Say hi! So we're hanging out in the kitchen while I feed her. So we are talking about optimizing your breast milk, right? So something I get asked a lot and I see a lot in the group is baby's not gaining well. What can I eat to make my breast milk fattier? Or, what can I do to make my breast milk better so that my baby gains weight or whatever? And that is a total myth that there's something you can do with your diet to help your baby grow. So we're going to talk about basically what you can and can't do to optimize your breast milk. So first I'm going to talk about what you can't do, and don't mind me, I'm just cutting up an orange for Miriam while we chat over here. So first I want to talk about what we can't do to change our breast milk. First of all, breast milk is freaking amazing, and your body is amazing, and your baby is amazing. And your breast milk is basically everything your baby needs. There are certainly things we can do to optimize that, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but there's certain things that we can't do, and it's just kind of set, but that's okay because that's the way it's supposed to be, right? So the first thing is you can't really, so I guess I'll start with this. You cannot change the macronutrient composition of your breast milk. So macronutrients are protein, fat, and carbs, right? That's pretty much set. It changes a little bit, like it'll change as baby grows. So when colostrum is much higher in protein, and then there'll be less protein as baby grows, so that kind of changes. The macronutrient composition changes as baby gets older, so it fits what they need developmentally. But in general, you can't change the macronutrient composition of your breast milk. So again, that's fat, protein, carbs. So your breast milk is mostly water, just like our bodies are mostly water. But other than that, and I've got it written here so I don't get the numbers wrong. Other than that, we know it's really sweet, right? So there's a lot of sugar in it. So that's carbs. Carbohydrates are sugars. So it's about, and this is all averages on a bunch of studies done and things like that. So it can totally range from person to person, or even from each baby you have, your milk could be different. But on average, your milk is about 7% or so carbohydrates, and that's mostly lactose, which is milk sugar. So that's another thing that we won't get into, but gets asked a lot. So if your baby has a problem with dairy, it's not the lactose. Lactose is basically another name for milk sugar. So any mammal, right, because mammals are what produce milk, any mammal, their milk has lactose in it, okay? So lactose could be a problem, and now I'm getting off topic. It could be a problem for dairy-sensitive babies if it's coming from cow's milk, right? Because it's not guaranteed that they'll get all the protein out of the milk or whatever they're doing to get the milk sugar out of. But lactose in general should be totally fine. That's milk sugar. Your milk is about 7% carbohydrates. Most of that is lactose, which is milk sugar. Miriam wants more orange. But then there's also other complex carbohydrates, oligosaccharides, which are basically prebiotics to feed your baby's gut. So anyway, the carbohydrates in your milk, mostly lactose, about 7% of your milk is carbohydrates. Next, fat. We all know that there's plenty of fat in our breast milk. If you've ever pumped and put it in the fridge, you'll see that layer of fat. So that's a big one, right? That's the one that I see people asking about a lot more often. How can I make milk fattier? You can't really. And we'll get into, you can change the types of fat, which is super important. Just like you can change the types of carbs and sugars and things and proteins and things in your breast milk, but you can't change the amount of fat. We do know that the amount of fat that comes out in your breast milk is more the longer the feed is, right? So early on in the feed, your milk will be a little bit more watery, and then over time, because the fat kind of sticks to the milk ducts, so over time, more fat will come out. And it doesn't matter if your baby is a fast eater and they finish a feed in 5 minutes, or if it takes them 20 minutes. It all depends on the mom and the baby pairing. So as long as they get to the end of a feed, that like for them, then they're getting the fattier part of your milk, if that makes sense. By the way, say hello if you're watching. Let me know if you have any questions about like the fats or sugars or proteins in your breast milk, any questions about like optimizing breast milk, and we can talk about them. But yeah, so we're talking about fat content. So you can't really change the fat content according to what you eat. It depends on how old baby is and how long they're nursing for. So you don't want to like switch sides too early. You want to make sure they get that good fatty milk at the end, right? And then last is protein. Surprisingly, little ones, babies and toddlers don't need much protein, like at all. And so your breast milk is like 1% or less of protein. There's really not that much protein in your breast milk. So like I was saying with fat, I shouldn't say everyone, but I see a lot like, what can I do to make my milk fattier so my baby gains more weight? And that is a total myth. We know for sure there's a ton of studies out there that show and that tell us that the only correlation between breast milk and growth, of course, there's other things that can inhibit baby's growth or interfere with baby's growth or make baby grow faster. Of course, there's other things, but as far as breast milk, the only thing that correlates with baby's weight gain and baby's growth is the volume of breast milk they get. So making sure they're eating enough and making sure you're producing enough and feeding them often enough is pretty much all you can do to make sure that they're growing as far as your breast milk, right? We're not going to get into it now, but there's plenty of other factors that can affect baby's growth. You just ate a whole orange, Miriam. I don't have any more. It's all gone. Sorry, sweetie. Want some milk? Here. Okay, so hopefully that kind of clears that stuff up. So other things we know, like I mentioned, your milk changes. Do you want your cup of milk? I don't have any more orange, sweetie. Your milk changes as baby gets older. Again, if you pump, you've probably noticed your milk changes from like throughout the day, like from morning to night. It'll change day to day. Like it's changing depending on your baby's needs. It's doing what it needs to do. I'm not giving you more orange, sweetie. Okay, so now the next thing I want to talk about, so there's like we were just saying, there's certain things you can't really do to change your breast milk, and that's changing the macronutrient composition, right? You can't change the amount of sugar, you can't change the amount of protein, you can't change the amount of fat in your breast milk by what you eat, but you can change the types. And this is where it's super important, okay? And it makes sense, right? We get this whether you thought about it or not, because if your baby has an allergy, like a dairy protein allergy, it's the protein from the dairy that you eat that's getting into your breast milk that baby is sensitive to or allergic to, right? So we know we can change the types of protein in our breast milk depending on what we eat, right? So we can do that to help us, right? And help baby, or we can do it to hurt baby, I guess you could say, right? So if you're eating things that don't agree with baby, then that'll affect them. If you're eating things that can support your baby's gut and health and everything, then that's great. So that's why there's certain amino acids that are super good for gut health. I don't have any more orange, my sweetie. There's chicken, okay? I'm sorry. I thought she'd be good because she's eating and she'd be happy, but she just devoured her whole orange. Sorry, sweetie. So we know that, so there's certain amino acids that are really good for gut health, like in bone broth and collagen and gelatin and things like that. So we can increase those amino acids, which are proteins, the building blocks of proteins, in our breast milk to help baby, right? Same thing with sugars. So I did a video on this quite a while ago. Eating Oreos all day. Yeah, Oreos are dairy free, but they're full of fructose, which is inflammatory sugar. That is just not good for us. So, and babies can get what they call secondhand sugars, right? So lactose is great. That's the kind of sugar that they need to grow and make the milk taste good. But if we're eating lots and lots of fructose and processed sugars and all those kind of things that aren't good for us, your baby's getting those secondhand sugars in them. And it's really not good. It's feeding all the bad bugs in their gut. It's super inflammatory. Like we don't want any of that stuff. So again, nobody's perfect. We don't need to be perfect. Say, ooh, I need to change your diaper. Say hi, Mir. This is baby Miriam. You say hi. You waving? So nobody's perfect. Like if you want Oreos, then go for it. But We want to do what's best for us and what's best for our babies and what helps them feel good. If you want to do that and you really want to pay attention to what you're eating, then minimizing sugars is one really great thing to do, right? So minimizing the proteins that they're sensitive to, increasing the proteins that are good for their guts, minimizing the sugars that aren't good for them, like fructose, and yeah, we don't need to maximize sugars because we got plenty of that in our milk already, right, sweetie? Good milk. Yeah. Okay, so that's sugars. We talked about protein. So next is fat, okay? So sugars, we want to be careful with minimizing the not so good inflammatory sugars in our diet. Same thing with fats. We want to be really good about minimizing the not so good inflammatory fats in our diet and increasing those anti-inflammatory fats. So just like we can increase the proteins that are really helpful for our baby's guts if they have some tummy troubles and gut problems, doing a live stream, sweeties. So please come back in a second, okay? We can minimize those inflammatory fats and increase the anti-inflammatory fats that are also good for healing their guts. So inflammatory fats would be like vegetable and seed oils, soybean oil, all those like processed vegetable and seed oils are inflammatory. And I talk about these all the time. Do you want some milk? She always has to be fed. And then we want to increase those anti-inflammatory fats. So omega-3 fatty acids, we want to increase them. The omega-6s are inflammatory. A certain amount of omega-6s we all need. But if you're eating like a lot of processed foods and those like vegetable oils and processed oils and things like that, then we want to decrease them first, the omega-6s. Increase the omega-3 fatty acids. That is seriously like one of my most recommended tips is increasing your omega-3s and decreasing your omega-6s. So taking an omega-3 supplement is like almost always a good idea. So again, you can't change, now I've got all the kids here. You can't change the amount of fat or protein or carbs, right? Sugars and carbs and stuff in your diet or in your breast milk from what you eat. But you can change the types. So changing the type of fat that you eat can be really important. Changing the type of protein that you eat can be really important and beneficial. And changing the types of sugar that you eat can be really important and beneficial. And then lastly, of course, there's other little things in our breast milk, like amazing stuff that we probably haven't even discovered at all. But, of course, like vitamins and minerals and hormones and enzymes and all those other like micronutrient kind of things and amazing things that are meant exactly for our babies. So those are other things that we could do to optimize our breast milk. Guys, quiet. To optimize our breast milk. To make sure that not only are we and baby getting everything we need, but especially if you have a sensitive baby, a baby with GI, careful, a baby with GI issues or whatever, then it's almost about more than, it's not just eliminating the foods that baby's sensitive to. I'm going to put you down so you can play with brother and sister. It's not really, it's more than just eliminating the foods that baby's sensitive to, right? It's really, really about like what foods can we add in to help baby heal and to help baby resolve their symptoms, whether it's eczema or poop issues, gut issues, reflux or whatever. Like, yeah, there's certain foods that are really helpful if we eliminate them. But we also want to pay attention to how food can empower us and how we can include foods in our diet to help baby feel better and be healthier, and you're going to feel better and healthier too. So I hope that all makes sense. This is something that I get asked a lot, so I'm really glad. Hopefully I was able to lay it out for everyone so it all makes sense. So yeah, if you have any questions, if you're watching live or watching the replay, just let me know in the comments. I just realized I never see the comments when I'm going live lately. I don't know why. Facebook always changes things on me. The last thing I want to say is you're probably on Instagram because a lot of people are on Instagram, right? And I finally made an Instagram account for my business. So if you just find MLB Family Wellness on Instagram, come join me there. It's super fun. I only have like 30 followers. I don't know because I just started it. So I'd love to interact with you guys there. This week I'm doing a free 5-day Easy Ease challenge, I'm calling it. So it's just to bring more ease into your life. So I'm live on Instagram every morning doing that challenge. So I'd love to see you there. You can catch all the replays of those on my Instagram account in my feed for IGTV. So yeah, I'm figuring out how Instagram works. So drop your IG handle in the comments and I'll give you a good follow. Give me a follow and I'll be Family Wellness. And I can't wait to see you there. Hopefully you guys can hear me with all this crazy background noise. All right, everyone want to say bye?
Bye, 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 bye.
I gotta go change Miriam's diaper. Bye, ladies. Thanks for watching.